Good evening, wrestling fans. I'm Jeff Upson. You are listening to the Power Hour, and I got Eric Knopf-Snyder, and we also got a special our guest correspondent. Dyson Gold is also going to be joining us here in a few minutes. But man, we have a great show for you tonight because we're going to talk about a lot of different things. This is like a casserole of different wrestling things going on. We're talking about girls high school wrestling. We're talking about new weight classes. We're talking about youth wrestling. We're talking about cadet world teams. We've got everything with the full gamut here of topics to talk about here on the Power Hour. Eric, what's been going on with you? Because I know you've been running around like crazy, doing some things, going to clubs and things like that. You've been busy.
It's amazing, isn't it? Anytime there's not COVID, like there are just wrestling stories out there all the time. And locally, yeah, I got a couple local clubs that are opening up in Somerset County. Not high profile places maybe, but just good places where guys can get in, get some freestyle in, some Greco in. So I was out at a place called Eagle Nation Sports today in Somerset. Sal Lascari, the former Berlin coach, they're doing some freestyle and Greco training with the kids from the Somerset area. And then just had to bang out a story here too on Cooper Warshall from Richland committing to Pitt. Did that story for the Johnstown newspaper. So congrats to Cooper. Awesome to see him headed to a fine institution like the University of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say something like that. And it's funny. I texted his dad. He hasn't texted me back yet, but I texted him and said, even from a West Virginia graduate, I'm really proud of him. And he's a quiet 2-time state place winner. I think I don't think he nearly gets as much hype as maybe he should. But yeah, I mean he's a great pickup for Pitt. I know that's a school that he's been looking to go to for a while, and it actually segues nice into what we've been doing recently. And we just published our 2021 college commitments all on Rockfin. You can see all the wrestlers from Pennsylvania from the class of 2021 and where they're going. And that's whether they're going for wrestling or other sports such as football. There's a lot of guys and girls there that are doing other sports that wrestled, like Donovan McMillan, for example, didn't wrestle this year. He's already down at Florida. Different wrestlers doing different things, which is great to see, but we have a complete list there for you to check out. We also have got the Cadet World Team Trials coming up, and I know Dyson is chomping at the bit to talk a little bit about that. We're expecting some big things from Team Pennsylvania coming out of Wisconsin. So Dyson, first of all, how's it going? What you wrestled this weekend? Tell us about the competition. How was it this weekend?
Yeah, this weekend it was a tough competition. I went 3-4. I wrestled pretty well, a couple matches, but yeah, didn't wrestle too bad. But yeah, it was a tough competition and definitely a lot of good wrestling there watching as well.
So you've been kind of like the point man on the UWW Cadet World Team Trials that are going on in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin, starting tomorrow. Tell us a little bit about what's going on, because I know we talked about it on the last show, all the different wrestlers from Pennsylvania that are going to be there. Bo Bassett at 45 kilos, Nathan Desmond, Sam Herring. Tell us a little bit about what's going on, who's wrestling tomorrow, who you're looking forward to, and what are the storylines to watch here?
Yeah, so we got, like you said, a lot of tough PA guys going out there. I'm really excited to see how PA does. Got a lot of hammers. Tomorrow is going to be the Greco, and then Saturday, Sunday will be the freestyle. I believe through the quarterfinals is Saturday, and then semifinals and finals, best of 3 finals are Sunday. So I think one of the biggest storylines coming in is obviously a really hot topic in the wrestling world right now is Bo Bassett. Obviously, he went 7-0 at Ultimate Duels, 66-0, 6 tech falls, and a pin. So I mean, I think it's just see if he can make the team and even to see how dominant he is here. I think honestly, bold prediction. I think he tech falls his way through the bracket. I mean, he even wrestled a couple of the guys he's going to wrestle last weekend. So, but I just really excited for this weekend. I think there's going to be a lot of great wrestling, obviously at a world team trial. But just really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, you had mentioned what Bo Bassett did at the Ultimate Club Duels, and he just was absolutely dominating. But the World Team Trials is maybe a little bit different, right? I know there's some other guys there that have some accolades to their name, but I would tend to agree with you. I think Bo Bassett's Pennsylvania's best shot of getting on the Cadet World Team. There's no doubt about it. And I agree with you. I think he does it in a little bit of dominating fashion. But it's the other guys that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing. Nathan Desmond, Dalton Perry at 51 kilograms. And the two that really jumped in at a kind of a late, because we lost Vinny Kilkeary, right? We kind of talked about that in the last show, how there was rumors that he wasn't going to be able to go. But we gained the Williams twins. We got Caden and Camden Williams. Caden, a state champion at 106 pounds. He's at 51 kilograms. Camden's at 55 kilograms, where Mason Gibson is. So now you have Dalton Perry, who, of course, we know what he's capable of doing. We saw him against Vinny Kilkeary at True Power. And Caden Williams, you throw him into the mix. I thought 51 was going to shape out to be pretty good for PA, and I think even losing Kilkeary, still having Caden Williams there is still making PA a good chance to potentially get someone in the best of three finals.
Yeah, I think these Williams brothers, as you said, late additions. I think they're definitely some dark horses that could bust the brackets here with Caden at 51 and Camden at 55. So really excited to see what they do this weekend.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Dalton Perry, obviously the big name is Jess Aruga, right? And they wrestled at Ultimate Club Duels, correct?
Yeah, Jess Aruga came out on top 3-2.
So close match, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you look at the rest of the field and you say, okay, well, I think he definitely has a shot. Does Dalton Perry? Now let's talk about Mason Gibson, because Mason Gibson, much like Bo Bassett, was, I wouldn't say he was nearly as dominant, but we saw a rematch of the Redemption. He wrestled Brennan Cernus again, beat him this time by points in freestyle. Him and Camden Williams both there. What are you thinking when you look at Mason Gibson? Because I'd almost argue and say he's our second best shot outside of Bo to get a Pennsylvania guy on the team.
Yeah, I would say so. He's the highest ranked guy nationally by Willie Saylor, coming in number 4. Then Corey Land, number 8. But I think those two are definitely the top 2, but you never know. You got a couple sleepers down there. But I really think, like you said, Mason's our second best shot, and I think he'll got a good shot to make the team this weekend.
Now talk about that with Corey Land, because you had tweeted out they wrestled in the Super 32, right? But you also have Cale Hughes there from Oklahoma, who I've heard that name multiple times from different folks from across the country that are pretty high on him. Corey Land from Alabama. You don't necessarily hear a lot of top talent coming out of Alabama, but what can you tell us about them and really what Mason should be looking forward?
Yeah, like you said, Corey Land wrestled him in the 2019 Super 32 final at 106 when Mason was an 8th grader. Spencer Moore, he's a real tough guy from Kentucky. I believe he's committed to North Carolina. So I think I heard Willie say that he hasn't wrestled much freestyle, but he's been real tough in folk style. So definitely a tough guy there. So, and another guy, sleeper down. Willie's been high on him. Gable Porter from Iowa. He's got good positions. Freestyle savvy. I think these sleepers down here, but I think Mason's, like you said, got a good shot. But I think it's going to be a tough bracket, and I think it's going to be a good fun weekend at this 55 kilograms weight.
Eric, do you notice how he had to throw in the Iowa guy?
Hey, it was
big on the Iowa guy.
It wasn't just me though. It's not like I was just throwing some no-name guy out there.
Tyson, who did you wrestle for at Club Duels? Was it an Iowa team? Were you
he wrestled for Seabolt. You wrestled for Seabolt, man. All right, so really good talent down low, right? But we also have 60 kilograms. We have Mac Church, Tyler Kasak, and Jake Daly. Obviously, Church and Kasak are the two highlight names there. They wrestled at last year multiple times at 106 pounds. Church won a state title this year at 120. Kasak followed it up with a title at 126 pounds. So, the question is, can either one of these guys push this field? And you look at who's here at 60 kilograms. and there's a lot of tough guys here, Dyson. So and I think it probably is the largest bracket. I don't maybe 70, maybe 65 is bigger, or 71, but I feel like 60 kilograms has a ton of just hammers all throughout here.
Yeah, this is really gonna be a fun bracket. Mac Church coming in as the second highest ranked guy nationally at 12. Sergio Lemley in Indiana ahead of him, but I think Mac's got a really good shot. Really excited to see him this weekend. I believe he was second in the 2019 Cadet Trials finals, losing to Mark Anthony McGowan, who ended up going on to win it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So he has obvious experience. He has the experience. I would tend to agree with you. I think Mac, we haven't quite seen him a whole lot in freestyle as of late, but I agree with you. I think he's got a good chance to go far, but so does Tyler Kasak, right? I mean, they split matches last year. Kasak won a very deep 126-pound bracket this year. It included a win over Carter Diber, who's going to Arizona State. So I think you can't discount him either. Pearson Manville's up now at 65, along with Jude Swisher. So you got State College of Bellefonte, and you also have Dom Federici, who Jude Swisher beat again this last weekend. So Jude and Pearson, Pearson Manville, the Manville name, I feel like you can't not be on a world team if you have a Manville last name. Is there a chance that we could see Manville or Jude, push some of these guys at 65?
Yeah, I think so. I really like a Jude shot at this world team spot. I think his main guy is Meyer Shapiro, but obviously going to be a tough bracket. It's the world team trials, but I really like his shot here, and I think he's got a good chance to make a world team. Like you said, Pearson Manville, he's obviously he's got to come in here. Expect him to have a really good weekend. So I think this is going to be a good bracket here at 65 kg for PA.
Isn't there a Ferrari in the 65 kilogram weight class? How can you not pick a Ferrari?
Angelo Ferrari. That's the young Ferrari.
Yeah, isn't Angelo in this?
It's the newest model.
Yep.
I think he could probably be. If he's deadlifting as much as his brother. What about Lamar from Oregon? He's another younger brother of a pretty good good genes there with Chance, his older brother. And okay, so we talked about 65. 71, things get a little bit interesting because it's the deepest weight class for PA. We've got Enzo Merlocki, Andrew McMonagle, Jake Jones from Saucon Valley, Jared Kessler, recently registered, Grant Mckay, Holden Garcia, who's technically from New Jersey, but he wrestles in PA, and Levi Haynes all the way up to 154 pounds, 71 kilograms. You said before we jumped on that Levi Haynes was making a world team. Are you seeing something we're not? Because man, this is a big jump in weight for him, isn't it?
I think, Antrell Taylor's real tough there, but from Nebraska, Levi's just been looking so good. I don't know. I just think Levi's just looking really good lately. I think he makes a world team. Levi Haynes.
It's as simple as that, Eric. Right?
Yep, he's looking really good.
Remember the name, Levi Haynes. Right, Tyson?
You heard it here first. Rob Walker is going to love this. He's going to be like, this is groundbreaking. I agree with you. We got to remember this. These are cadets, so it's not like they're going to be seeing guys that are 2 years older than them. So like, if you're the best in your weight,
the worlds,
right?
When they get to the worlds, they're going to be seeing 20-year-olds.
Right. Well, Dyson, just ignore Eric, okay? just ignore Eric.
Come on, as well as I do that happens.
Of course it does. Absolutely it does. Okay, but let's not go into it. All right, let's not.
Freaking
you're not going to pull me
Russians.
down that. You're not going to pull me down that rabbit hole. I like Levi Haynes' shot here, and I agree with you, Dyson. He was probably one of the most dominant wrestlers in the state of Pennsylvania this year. Regardless of weight class, pound for pound, he was one of the best. So I can't, obviously bet against him here at 71 kilograms. I agree with you. Even if it is up a couple weights, I think he's going to look strong. 80 kilograms, we also have Gabe Arnold, who's not a Pennsylvania wrestler per se. He wrestles for SEM, and he's going to be wrestling for Georgia, wrestling both freestyle and Greco-Roman. What do you like about those bigger boys up there, Dyson?
Yeah, this is a tough weight here. Arnold number 2, Raleigh number 4, and Hayden Walters number 5. 2 Oregon guys actually there, but this is a tough weight class with 2, 4, and 5 in the nation. But I really like Arnold coming in at number 2 in the nation. I think it's gonna be a real tough bracket, and really looking forward to this one.
At 92 kilograms, Nicholas Pavlichenko from State College. He's there as well. So is Owen Vaitmere from Malvern Prep. So a couple big guys there, but it kind of thins out a little bit, right? We don't, obviously the lower weights are one of the bigger ones. We didn't really talk about 48 kilograms. Sam Herring, your boy, Nathan Desmond. What do either one of these two have a shot down at 48 kilograms, Dyson?
I really like this one. I think Desmond's got a good shot. I think I'm really excited to see what he does this weekend. And Sam Herring as well. He's been injured, banged up for a while, but excited to see. I'm sure he's hungry. Hasn't wrestled in a while. Ready to compete. So excited to see Sam back on the mat and wrestling at the Cadet World Team Trials this weekend in Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's about time we see him on the mat and not on the microphone. Eric, you got to see a little bit of the Ultimate Club Duels results. What were some of the things that stuck out to you in looking at some of those results from State College?
Well, one of the first things I was watching live, and I know I texted Dyson in the M2 Magicians versus Seabolt match, and Mason Gibson. I mean, I know it seems like we talk about Mason for about 5 minutes every episode now. Yeah, Jeff, did you see his throw? I still don't know how he did it. I watched it like 5 times, and I still can't figure it out. It was a 4-2 match. You know, he was up 4-2 with a minute left. You know, if he blows that, he's probably going to lose. But as Dyson said, they won because of it, because they won by a point, and he was able to throw, get the pin with less than a minute left. It was just an incredible sequence there. Like I said, I've watched it multiple times, and I'm still not sure how he's able to do that.
It was almost like a WWE move.
Yeah, it did not look possible. It didn't look like he had anything to back arch from there. Like there wasn't a lock. It was crazy.
So if you look, and like you said, and you said this, Dyson, is if he does not do that, they don't win the match, right? I mean, they're going to lose the match potentially. You know, he gets the fall. That was McKinley Robbins, was it not?
Correct.
That was.
Yeah. And Dyson was big on him coming into this one.
No, I wouldn't say I was not big on.
You were. No, I mean, what Iowa guy weren't you big on?
I did not say anything about McKinley Robbins.
It must have been the group text. It must have been the group text.
All I said was that he wrestled Mason well.
Okay, yeah, he may have.
I thought Mason was going to go out and tech.
Jude Swisher had a huge win as well. I thought Jude Swisher had a big win over Joel Jesserugo.
That was a big win.
That again, you look at. I mean, what was the final? 41-40. M2 Magicians won it. And Dyson, we got to talk about what you saw at 180 or 129 kilograms. Why did you think that Nick Feldman? I mean, he won by tech fall, right? He won by tech 14-4 over Bradley Hill, but you tweeted out that you thought there was it 4 for red instead and or 4 for blue. You just got eviscerated on social media. Brock Heights, Adam Fellers, they all got on you and said you need to wake up. So
this is my. I have a young freestyle mind. I don't know the scoring too well, but Feldman hits a double. Bradley Hill, it was a chest wrap, throws him through. I don't know. He double legged and then threw him through. I just thought it was 4 because, I mean, like the way that Feldman went through, it just seemed like that it was from Hill's momentum taking him through. It didn't seem like he hit and then he
It's his action though. It's Feldman's action. And someone said this. They're like, you can't just chest wrap a double and try to roll through it and pretend like, well, yeah, it's my action, it's my points. Like that's not. I mean, all I know is I know you have a young mind in freestyle,
mind.
I hope that your mind has now grown a little bit.
It's developing. It's developing.
It's developing. Eric, what was your take on that?
I'm going to rule that Dyson is now officially 3-5 on the weekend at Club Duels because he took a Twitter L too.
Ooh, Dyson, you got a response from that? Yeah, I didn't think so. That's tough, man. That's tough. There was a lot of good wrestling at the Ultimate Club Duels. I know we talked about M2 Magicians. I saw some other ones that I thought were pretty impressive. Dalton Perry He beat Kai Sheptick from Waynesburg, who we saw this year as a freshman, 10-0 Tech in 57 seconds. Dagan Condomiti, younger brother of Jagger Condomiti, beat Ty Linsenbigler in a 12-11 match. That was pretty crazy. He actually won by fall in that, but he was up 12-11 at the time of the fall. Really fun match. If you have a chance, go back and watch that one. Pinero Johnson beat Grant Mckay. Of course, Pinero was third in the state at 152. Grant Mckay won the state title in dubweight. Pinero beats him 6-1, but then Cole Spencer beats Pinero Johnson 5-4. So Cole Spencer's been having a really good offseason or postseason, I guess you could call it, since wrestling for third place at the state tournament. Joey Senapal beat JoJo Subishin 12-2. That was a big win over a state medalist. So a couple guys that I was very impressed with. Somebody I think you wrestled him, Dyson, is CJ Horvath from Freedom, Bethlehem. He was wrestling for Lost Boys and beat Kai Sheptick 10-0 as well. There was a lot of young talent here. Jason Torres from Malvern Prep is going to be a problem. He is going to be really, really good. So is Maddox Shaw from Thomas Jefferson, younger brother of Max Shaw. Maddox is a guy who I think is probably going to even eclipse his brother, Max, who's at UNC right now. But he also had some really good results on the weekend.
Yeah, that was a tough tournament, like you said. A lot of good results for PA guys. Pinero looked really good in that. I did get to see that match between him and Mckay because I was actually on McKay's team. That was a really good match by Pinero. He looked really good in that one.
What, Dyson, were there any other things that stuck out to you? Like any things that, we weren't there, we couldn't see, something that anyone that jumped out at you that maybe you didn't know beforehand that you do now?
Not really. I mean, M2 Magicians, they were obviously, as we all know, it was a loaded team. But it was, like I said, a tough tournament. It was a lot of great matches and fun competition.
Okay, well, Dyson, I'm assuming you don't want to say bye to Eric because of the way he abused you.
Well, why do you try to get everybody to hate me, Jeff?
I don't want anyone to hate you. I'm just
up with Greg.
Just saying.
Come on, that was funny,
Eric,
Dyson.
I was side hail to Pitt, but
So
if
let's get a let's go.
If you can't handle that, you don't have the rhino hide, as Mark Billett would say.
I might
can't handle that, then
I might have to go block him on Twitter.
You're not tough enough for Pitt if you can't handle that.
Well, you can't move to Iowa because they love tough wrestling, and if you can't handle a little bit of heat here, as Mark Billett would say, when you're around us, you got to have your rhino hide on. And as Adam Feller said, maybe you should transfer to Bishop McCourt. And I liked how he spelled it, like court, like a courthouse, which I've done before too. But Dyson, I appreciate your insight. You are our frontline reporter. Not only were you there in spirit, but you were there in actuality. You were wrestling. You were really embedded in it. So I appreciate you being there. Being our eyes and ears at the Ultimate Club Duels.
Hey, Cadet Trials this weekend.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cadet Trials Friday, tomorrow Greco, Saturday, Sunday. Gonna be a fun tournament. Tune in.
All right. We'll be sending you and Eric to Budapest here if three or more PA wrestlers make it. We're going to Budapest.
3 or more. That's the over under.
That's the over under. So if we get 3 wrestlers from PA on the Cadet World team, we'll be going to Budapest.
I might have to throw on my PA shirt.
So what, instead of your Iowa shirt? Appreciate that, Dyson.
Yeah, of course.
How many does IA Wrestle need you to? How many does IA Wrestle need for you to go to Budapest, Dyson?
That hasn't been discussed.
Okay, all right.
Well, Dyson, we appreciate your time here tonight. Go do some homework. Go do something. Eric and I got adult things to talk about. All right.
Wow. All right. And I'm the bad guy, man.
I'm just kidding, Dyson. Thank you. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Cadet Trials this weekend. Tune in.
All right. See ya. Bye.
See ya, Dyson.
All right, Eric. So we talked about Cadet World Team. We talked about Ultimate Club Duels. I want to shift gear to the Reno Worlds that took place in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The World of Wrestling puts on the Reno Worlds every year, and this year it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But I believe it was last year as well, because we had Bill Bassett on to talk about how well they did down in Tulsa for the Reno Worlds. what really stuck out at you, Eric? Because I know we been looking at the results for the last couple of days. There was some actually. If I look at, so I'll just jump in because I want to cut you off here. There was quite a few wrestlers that I saw from the Mad Assassins Wrestling Club, a really good club from out in the eastern part of the state, kind of the Scranton area. Anthony Vansky, who was the younger brother of a state champion in Vansky, he took 7th at 135. Cohen Deputy from our very own Chestnut Ridge, Cohen Deputy took 1st at 43 pounds in the 6 and under division. Steve Minich, I'm assuming that's Steve Minich Jr., so we should put a junior there, so that way we know that it's not Steve Minich, because he had been wrestling through like his 30s. He won the 49, he took 2nd at 49 pounds in the 8 and under division. Marco
Unless
Hutcherson,
he's on the Kyle Dake plan.
Well, if he's on the Kyle Dake plan, then he very well could.
He might be back at 8 and under.
He that reverse aging thing is a real thing. Marco Hutcherson from Kiski area, he won it at 75 pounds. He's from Hutchie Hammers. Also, Nelson Villafane III from Mad Assassins won the 52 pounds at 10 and under division. I was very pleased with seeing a lot of these wrestlers that we've been accustomed to seeing in the Pennsylvania circles and kind of the youth ranks here compete at a national event like this and do well. Chris Dennis from East Coast Bandits won 96 pounds. And even in the girls division, we had Madison Healy. She won it. She won at 64 pounds. And Shannon Logue from Malvern, she took 4th at 73 pounds. So there was a lot of good wrestling there. And, we saw some names that we're familiar with. Fred Bachman, East Coast Bandits, again, he took 2nd at 70 pounds. And overall, I was impressed with the way Pennsylvania wrestled, Eric.
Yeah, and that's great. Like you said, whenever, it's difficult to judge sometimes young kids, because some kids that do really well at that age level, that success does translate. We're seeing it as Bo Bassett comes up. He's dominated from the time he was in that 8-year-old category or whatever, and now, looking to make a cadet world team. But sometimes those kids, kind of fall off. They're maybe a little more mature than other kids at that age, and that works. So it's kind of interesting to look at it and see, though, it is a good base for what we're going to see, 3, 4, 5 years down the line.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And you look at the names who have come before, that have done well at events such as this. Yeah, I agree. It may not, it's a potential indicator for what's to come. Liam Reeves from Nazareth, he won at 49 pounds. He may have been a Triple Crown winner. I can't remember if he was. That's Steel Valley Renegades. And that's Whitey Klebove who runs that. I saw a ton of Steel Valley Renegades wrestlers, Mad Assassin Wrestling Club wrestlers here, Excalibur, obviously from Wyoming Seminary, a couple Hutchie Hammers, a couple Young Guns, but it was a good mix of wrestlers from across the state, and I know we tend to sometimes push a little bit what we know in the West, but really these East Coast Eastern Pennsylvania wrestlers did a really good job here. So I like what you said, though, about the fact it could be an indicator, but we shouldn't put too much stock. Like college, and I was talking to another guy yesterday about this, and they said college coaches aren't at 6 and under tournaments recruiting, their 157 pounder. That's just not happening.
Right. And I will be interested to see, though, because we've seen the cycles before. For a while the East is dominant, and then it swings to the West, and usually it's governed by that District 11 WPIAL. How those go is kind of how that half of the state goes. So when you're seeing those Steel Valley Renegades and the Mad Assassins, will we see it shift back to the East a little bit in the next couple of years, because the West has been doing really well the past few, but maybe we're in for another turn there in 4 or 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, and again, I think District 11 and District 7 kind of chase each other back and forth, and I think that's a good thing. And of course, you have District 3 that had a little bit of a run for a couple years potentially, and you look at depth, and obviously the WPIAL has a little bit more to pull from in terms of number of schools. But District 11 just, I mean, concentrated talent, just all over that area, the Easton area, Bethlehem area, that entire Lehigh Valley area is just so condensed with wrestling talent, and we see it all the way through the ranks, youth all the way up to international with Jordan Oliver, right? We see Jordan Oliver. I feel like he was, that time when he was coming up through, and because I'm kind of around the same age as Jo, and there was always somebody from District 11 that was the talk of the town. So yeah, it's of course it's nice to have a little bit of a mixture between East and West. I think we should put on a card between the best from District 11, best from District 7. You think that's a good idea?
I guarantee you that would be huge.
I guarantee
because
as well.
those two love to go back and forth about who's better.
They always do, and their parents do too. Their fans do. Maybe not so much the wrestlers, but definitely the parents and fans. That's enough for the kind of results there. Let's talk about some good news. And this is coming from Delaware Valley. This is now number 10 in the number of girls programs that have been launched in Pennsylvania. Delaware Valley, of course, we have our very own Lily Scher, who's a big proponent of growing the girls wrestling scene. She hosts her podcast, Girl Power. She's full force into the whole sanctioned PA movement. But Brad Wilson from the Lehigh Valley Express Times wrote a very good article on it, because this is what I love about Brad is he goes over to New Jersey because he covers both Jersey and Pennsylvania when it comes to wrestling, football, etc. And he saw what Jersey did with their girls. So then he comes back from Jersey and writes an article about how Pennsylvania is doing it the wrong way. And he straight up calls out the PIAA. In fact, I think in the Twitter message he said, it's your move, PIAA. But he brought up some valid points, Eric, and I know you were able to look at that article that he wrote. What were some of the things that stuck out to you? Because, 100 programs is a lot of programs. We're only 10% down. We still got 90 more to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's really hard for schools or girls themselves to really commit to this whenever it's such a long way off. I mean, there's not much light at the end of the tunnel yet. I mean, it's great that we're up to 10, but as you said, we're only a tenth of the way there. I mean, there's a long way to go. And I am hopeful, I think that had this been a quote unquote normal season, we might have seen a lot more girls teams. COVID wrecked everything, and not only did it probably make it more difficult to try to get girls to say, yeah, I'm going to wrestle if I have to wear a mask, but I'm sure it also made it more difficult on organizers who in a lot of cases are tied in with the boys programs to say, okay, yeah, I'm really going to jump in with both feet with this when I'm still trying to figure out when we're going to be able to practice, when I'm going to be able to schedule dual meets and tournaments and all this stuff. I think that just the confusion surrounding the 2020-21 season makes it really difficult to get that going at that point in time. But back to your question about what I agreed with Brad is that it's not fair to say, show us you've got 100 programs and then we'll consider it. I mean, think about it. If we said, hey, we might start this tournament called the Surge, but we need 100 wrestlers to sign up before we're going to do anything about it. You think anybody's going to commit to that? I mean, you got to put something out there and say, yeah, we're behind this. Here's why you should be involved. You can't say, yeah, you tell us that you're coming and then we'll get ready for it.
Yeah, I mean that's the most absurd thing I think in the argument is that you need to essentially sanction wrestling in your little fiefdom of your school district, and you need to sell wrestling 100 times. You need to get 100 different administrators, 100 different school boards, 100 different faculty and staff involved to say you'll even consider making it a sport sanctioned by the PIAA. So you're really just setting it up for failure, in my opinion, because you're going to drag, because it's going to be dragged out, right? It's going to be dragged out for maybe a year, 2 years, depending on how long. And I think Brad said that in his article, like at this pace, we'll have it by 2025 or 2026, something like that. And again, I'm thankful for what the PIAA is doing, but I'm also saying it's not quite enough. You're not going to grow the sport of girls wrestling by saying, hey, we'll even consider it only if you have 100 programs, 100 schools. you would open it up. The floodgates would open if you said, yes, this is going to be a sport sanctioned by the PIAA. So now you don't have to necessarily go to the administrators, go to the superintendent, go to the school board and say, please let us start this team. Instead, now you're like, the PIAA already recognizes this. Let's start this up. It's like you're really stuck between a rock and a hard place, because what do, right? The PIAA, what they say kind of goes, but I think they should maybe reconsider, especially with COVID. I think it'll probably be quite a few years before we actually see the sport recognized by the PIAA, which is a real shame, because look at all these wrestlers that we've seen throughout the years come through, especially in the last 5 years, girls wrestlers from Pennsylvania that really lost out on a chance before. I mean, let's not forget the girls state championship that we have, the unofficial one, has only been around since 2019, I believe, 19. So
I think so.
Only a couple years. Better hope that sticks around, because the PIAA ain't going to have a state tournament anytime soon for them.
No, and I agree with you. I don't think the we're there yet. Like I said, my hope is that if we can get COVID behind us and have a quote unquote normal season next season, that maybe there will be a lot more schools that jump on board and say, hey, we can do this. We can have 2 or 3 or 4 girls on and consider that a team, and we'll get behind it. Because I know I talked to some that were planning on doing that before this season, but as I said, everything just got thrown into flux with COVID and all the issues and all the other things that they had to do behind the scenes just to get their boys wrestling season, that they didn't feel confident and comfortable trying to launch a girls program at the same time with all that going on. So that's what my hope. I mean, we've got to keep pushing it and keep saying, hey, PIAA, you gotta do this. You got to do it right and not wait for this. But at the same time, we got to keep pushing some schools to say, hey, let's get behind it, get it on board, and show them that there is movement. Maybe, who knows, maybe if we can get the 50 next year, maybe they'll say, okay, we'll reconsider it and take a look at it at a lower number.
I mean, 100 that's a lot of freaking schools.
It is.
That's a lot of. I mean, people looking at it like, oh, 100. It's not. Got $100.
What are there? How many boys programs are there? Do you know? In PA?
There's. I think close to.
Is it 500?
I think it's between 500 and 600. It's about between 500 and 600. I'll have to look at the numbers, but
one girls for every 6 boys, it would be amazing.
So I get like what I mean, in the mind of the PIAA, they're saying, okay, we don't want to sanction a sport that is not going to work out, and it's not going to be a productive sport, if you will. But look at the opportunities that you are losing by not having this. It's like I don't know. I think back to saying, is it even worth trying if you're saying you're making it so difficult? I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is, but I agree that 100 schools is ridiculous to try to get to in a short time period when you have momentum, right? And we know that these things happen very fast. Look at all the other states. It's like Pennsylvania continues to be behind the ball in so many different ways, but especially when looking at the growth of girls wrestling, it's like, wake up, wake up. I don't get it, and I'll say that till the cows come home. I don't get why they are so hell bent on getting 100 schools to sponsor wrestling, and now we'll consider you a sport. It's just not. It's not right. It's not fair. It's not fair to these girls that work their tails off. So I don't want to be on the soapbox all night, and I'll probably get banned from another PIAA event.
You just won't get a credential.
Yeah, whatever. Let's move on. Let's move on. That felt good. It felt good to get that out though. And I know Lily is. Hopefully Lily's listening and is proud of us for taking a stand. Also, again, this comes back to the PIAA and some of the things that we've been doing here in Pennsylvania. We went down to 13 weight classes when the rest of the country was still at 14. And of course, now the National Federation of High School has come out and said that the weight classes in 2023 are going to change. Now look at this, and I just popped it up on the screen here. So this is effective July 1st of 2023. these will be the allowed weight classes. Now, here it is. On the front lines of growing girls wrestling is the National Federation of High Schools. So for the first time in the history of wrestling, they have now made two separate weight classes. They've had girls weight classes and they have boys weight classes. So that's earth-shattering. The girls weight classes, this is when girls wrestle girls. If you have 12 weight classes, lowest is 100, highest is 235, 13, again 100, 235 with a mix of 12, 18, 24, 30, 14 weight classes with girls, 100, 105, 110, 115, 120, etc. So that's awesome. Number one, the National Federation of High School is saying we're recognizing that girls wrestling is growing exponentially in the United States. You look at the number of states that have sanctioned girls wrestling; it's growing. Every week it seems like there's a new state. But for us, it's like instead of getting to the state, we're cheering on programs, sanctioning or supporting a girls team when the rest of the nation is cheering on states, right? And it's just kind of a neat parallel there because, the United States only has to get 50 states to sponsor and sanction girls wrestling. Pennsylvania, on the other hand, we got to get 100 schools to do it. So, screw us, I guess. The more interesting piece to this, not only is that there's a separation between girls and boys, but the boys side is this. They've recognized that states have different weight classes, different number of weight classes. Obviously, with Pennsylvania being the one that came down to 13 weight classes. So what the National Federation of High School said is if you have three different options for weight classes. You can have 12, 13, or 14. So let's take, for example, Pennsylvania, which has 13 weight classes currently. Their weight classes will go like this: 107, 114, 121, 127, 133, 139, 45, 52, 60, 72, 89, 250, and 285. So the only change there is 106 to 107, 13 to 14, one up all the way until you get to 139 pounds. Then the rest are all the same. 14 weight classes, you still have 106. You have basically the old weight classes that we used previously, other than the fact that you have a 38, a 44, 50, 57, 65, 75. I actually really love those weight classes. The 14 weight classes for the boys, 6, 13, 20, 26, 32, 38, 44, 50, 57, 65, 75, 90, 15, and 85. I feel like someone at an auction place, I'm like 55, 25, 55, Those weight classes really appeal to me. I wish now the PIAA would go back to 14 because I really like those weight classes, Eric.
Yeah. I mean, what is it you like? You like the change in the middleweights there?
Spread.
I take it.
I like the I like having I like the 50 to 57, 65. I like having a 65 to 75. I think that's a good jump there. And I also think that it's nice to have, instead of going from, traditionally we had the 182, now it's the 75 to the 190. I don't know. I just like that. I think you have easier time getting guys to say, all right, I'm just going up to 190, or, I can make the cut to 175. I think 75 would be a really, really tough weight class. And I think 90, you would have a mix of guys that are coming down from 200, but also coming up from like a 180, like a 185 area. That's what I like about it. I think it spreads out some of the wrestlers a little bit better than maybe it has in the past.
Now, I got a question for you here. We know from last year that Pennsylvania isn't beholden to follow these suggestions, if you will, for weight classes, because we went out on our own and came up with our own system. Do you think PIAA will follow this 13 weight class model?
Yeah, 100%. I think they will. They don't like to necessarily. I know, like what you said, and we kind of went out on a limb on our own. The caveat there was it was a pilot program, right? They were pilot testing these weight classes, and they weren't necessarily going against the recommendations of the National Federation of High School. They were just saying we are seeing these numbers. We're switching to these for the betterment of the sport in Pennsylvania. I think 100% they will adopt one of these three. I don't think you'll see any deviation from either one of these weight classes. Now, the question is, remember, there was obviously talk about going down to 12 weight classes. So with the numbers of boys wrestling going down in the state of Pennsylvania, which it is, are we going to go to 12 weight classes? And then you look at 12, these weight classes are kind of interesting. 108, 16. I think that's a huge jump between,
a huge
108
jump
to 116. I mean, you're 112, right? You're a little bit too small. You're a naturally 112, 113 pounder. You're cutting down hard to make 108, which ends up being 110. I don't like that at all, but it's 108, 116, 124, 131, which I also don't like that. 7 pounds in between 24, 31, 38, 45, 52, 60, 70, 90, 215, and 285. So, if I had to pick, I'd almost rank them, 14, 13, 12, obviously. But just to look at those jumps between 108 and 116, 16 to 24, and 24 to 31, you're eliminating a lot of we always talk about the lightweights, all the way through high school. You're eliminating a lot of good wrestlers and forcing them into weights that maybe not are the best.
Could you ever see the PIAA saying, okay, we'll do 14 weight classes for AAA and 13 or 12 for AA?
So to answer your question, no, I don't think they would do that. Because that would make too much sense. I think there's a few things, and knowing the PIAA pretty well and knowing how they operate, they like consistency and they like things to be kind of, I would say, even, but also fair. That's the whole idea between the qualifications and how people get selected to go into the state tournament based on numbers and percentages. It's not about the quality. So I think it's all or nothing with them. I think their whole system is based on you're all in or you're not. So I can't see them changing it. Now it would make sense. Now if some new fresh faces come in and they say, you know what, we're willing to make a little bit of a change and make an adjustment and let's try it out. I think there's a chance that they could come back and say, you know what, AAA, we're going to go here, AA, we're going to go here, or even, again, here's an idea. Make different weight classes for dual meets as opposed to tournaments. That's
what I was going to say.
That is my preference, is to say, okay, I understand the dual meet aspect of it is kind of on the downward trend. So let's make it, I don't know, an 8 to 10 person, dual meet. Okay. But don't eliminate it to those individual tournaments. And I said the same thing when we were talking about going down to 12. If you want to have 12 for dual meets, that's fine, but don't take away those 2 weight classes for the rest of the individual tournaments. You can still have 14 individual state champions, even if you don't have 14 individual bouts for a dual meet.
And I'd like to see multiple entries allowed for schools in the postseason.
Yeah.
That's my argument is track does it. You don't say, okay, sorry, the state champion 100 meters is on your team. You can't compete. If you're the second best, you still get to go.
Yeah.
If school A has 3 of the top guys in the state at 285 pounds, why shouldn't they be able to go?
Yeah.
Because that weight you're stuck. If you're behind the best guy in the state, you can't, if you weigh 250, you're not cutting down to 215.
I loved it when Caden Rogers and Jack Waymeyer from Malvern Prep wrestled in the Powerade finals. And, somebody asked me, I forget who it was. They said, they're like, oh, are they even going to wrestle? And I'm like, oh yeah, they're wrestling. And like they're teammates, but they are competitors and Caden Rogers had just beaten Max Stout, who was one of the best in the nation. He wasn't going to go in and be like, all right, Jack, you're a little bit higher ranked in the nation. You go ahead and take this one.
Yeah. You can have the Powerade title.
Yeah. You have the Powerade title. Think about it. You could have Alejandro Herrera Rondon and Dylan Chappell, both at 106. Coleman Scott and Drew Headley, both at 106. You have all these different schools, like you said, that just have, a lot of good wrestlers at the same weight. And even when you go into double A, you still have the same thing. I just think it's obviously on the numbers spectrum, it's a little bit more apparent and more prevalent in triple A. So anything that makes too much sense and would require a lot of changes and kind of shuffling and differences. And here's the thing: the PIAA does not like differences between classes. They needs to be kind of consistent. The way you get to the state tournament should be consistent. The way that,
And
et cetera.
I get it, but
That's just
sometimes
the way they
common
are.
sense. Sometimes common sense should win out, and you say, you know what? There's a better way to do this.
It's fun. I'm a big Thomas Edison fan. I think Thomas Edison was great, and I love some of his quotes, and I have a magnet of his on my fridge, and it always says, there's always a better way to do something. Find it. And I always look at that when I'm going to get my baby's milk out of the fridge or something. I'm going and I'm like, there's a better way to do this. I'm always thinking of like, there's always a better way I can do this. I just got to find out what that way is. And like at the PIAA, like there's a whole heck of a lot that we could do better. We just got to find it. And in order to do that, you got to be willing to fail and to not be successful in that first try. Like Thomas Edison was. Like he failed multiple times before he ended up getting the success he was looking for. So, if you think about it that way, yeah, we have a lot we could be doing to better the support of wrestling in the state of Pennsylvania, which is the best state in the nation when it comes to wrestling. So why should we not try to be the best and do the best? But that's a whole nother story, Eric. You're going to get me banned from like life from covering all PIAA events.
You're never getting it again.
Yeah. Well, I guess it is what it is. I mean, it's suppression of free speech, and we won't get into that either. Now you just derailed me.
Speaking of a better way of doing things.
Yeah,
did we get it with the youth?
Yeah, so that definitely did happen. So let's talk about that. I'm going to put up the thing here on the screen here. Okay, so the PJW tournament. Let's start there. The PJW tournament has been around since 1963. All right, so 59 give or take years. I'm not very good at math. 1963. It was before you were born, Eric.
It is before I was born. Yeah.
Right? You were born in the 70s. You were a groovy baby, right?
Yeah, exactly.
60. So the Pennsylvania Junior Wrestling Tournament has been around for a very long time. Okay. Well, they haven't had a tournament since 2019. The 2021 got canceled just like the rest of the world did. But the 2021 tournament did not happen this year either. So instead, the Keystone State Championships, led by Frank Volcano, Heather Marcuzzi, and some other folks, they kind of took it on and said, you know what, we're gonna do it for the kids, and Frank's he is the godfather of tournament running a wrestling tournament. Like he's just the guy, right? I think he can do it in his sleep. He's one of the best, if not the best in the nation at running a tournament. So the folks at the Keystone State Championship came out with a message, I believe it was last week. And it said essentially this, and again, I put it up on the screen here, that it wasn't their initial intention, right? They were just going to do it for 1 year and then kind of say, hey, PJW, here it is back. We took care of her while you were away. But that's not what they're planning now. They kind of said after the feedback, after talking to wrestling folks and parents and coaches and et cetera, they said it is their full intention now to push forward and host another Keystone State Championship in 2022. So now herein lies the question. Is the PJW dead and the Keystone State Championship now taken over? Now, it's curious to me because if you look on the PJW website, which is not a very good website, but if you look at the website and you look at the names of who's involved in it, you'll see a name like Frank Volcano on there. You'll see other names that worked with the Keystone State Championships on there. So is there kind of like a shift here? Who's still holding on to the PJW tournament? And again, you talk about history. 1963, you're talking about, the biggest names in wrestling have wrestled in the PJW tournament. Kerry Colott, he went from PJWs to the Olympics. Spencer Lee, Chance Marsteller, all of them have wrestled in the PJW tournament. Now you're saying we're switching gears. It's almost as if we said, you know what, the PIAA, you kind of been screwing up. So you know what? We're going to start our own state championships. It's called the PA Power State Tournament. You know, we're going to do it now. We're going to do it our way. I don't think people quite understand the implications that this has. I think this is a huge thing in Pennsylvania wrestling, and I'm surprised it's not getting talked about a little bit more on social media.
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't even realize that it had been decided that they were definitely going to go ahead with it. I knew that there was talk that they were considering going ahead with it, but yeah, to me, this is really big news, because my fear is that we're going to get both of these tournaments trying to compete. And when that happens, that's just going to water down both events.
Yep.
So we're going to have, half of a good class maybe, or maybe even 3/4 in one tournament and one in the other. And, everybody's going to be claiming a state championship, not to bag too much on cheerleading, but that was always my complaint about cheerleading is, everybody was a national champion. There were like 700 national champions in cheerleading because everything was for a national title. And I don't want to see, 72 PA state champs in the 12 and under category.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with you that so at least for the time being, and whether this is a real thing and going to continue on, you're going to have two camps, right? You're going to have the PJW camp and the Keystone State Championship camp. And the one thing that the Keystone State Championship has in their advantages, they just they just had a state tournament, and from all the accounts, it was a pretty well-run and successful tournament. It looked like a good tournament. So you have the issue of, well, they just kind of showed that they could do a really good tournament. What can you do that's better, right? And the message that I read says that they're unhappy with the way that the PJW has taken their suggestions. And, I think the Keystone State Championship kind of prides themselves on transparency and doing what's best for all those involved, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I don't know. I fear the same thing that you were saying, that you're going to have two different state tournaments, two wrestlers that, especially if they're on the same weekend, maybe I'm going to be a double state champion. Maybe I'm going to win a PJW and a Keystone State Championship. I feel like you got to come to an understanding. This is almost like the Allegheny Health Network and UPMC, you can't, you got to come together something. You got to work together somehow. Maybe you can put your differences aside and say, you know what, we're going to figure this out. Because I think, of course, and the people who suffer are the kids and the wrestlers, right? Because
it's a divorce.
You have all these parents that are somewhat kind of crazy, right? There's let's be honest, wrestling parents are a little bit crazy. And you have all these parents that are just like vehemently against, the PJW or vehemently against the Keystone State Championship because it's a Western PA thing. I don't know though. I don't see anything good coming out of this other than if the PJW would come back and say, you know what, let's work together. Let's implement what you kind of did at the Keystone State Championships into the PJW ways, and let's kind of merge the two together and give one heck of a product. That would be the best solution, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm worried we're not going to see that though. It feels like, and I'll admit I haven't been closely in tune with this, but just as an outsider looking in, it feels like a divorce. And exactly what you said, the kids are the ones that suffer. Because there's going to be this split between the two camps. And the other thing I fear is I wonder if it's going to be a race to get your dates out and be like, okay, well, we're going to have it, we're going to have our qualifiers this weekend and try to get that in before the other one so that, you get everybody to your qualifiers early. And it may be a situation too where, kids are picking and choosing and they're like, okay, well, Johnny went and he lost at this qualifier, so we're going to try the other one now and see if he does better there and, can get in there. And it's going to be crazy with the dates to see how everything works out and whether they are on the same dates, whether they're able to find a way that's kind of different. I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting, but it's scary too, because I know I was talking with someone during the Classic. And I said about, it was really surprised at Maryland, they were kind of talking them up on Flow about, oh, they were really shocked that the Whitfield beat Maryland this badly. And I was like, really? I kind of expected it to be a butt whooping there because I don't think that Maryland wrestling is that great. And somebody contacted me on Twitter and said, well, they said they're not getting all the best Maryland guys because apparently there was some huge split in the coaches associations in Maryland, and like half of them sued the other half, and it got really ugly. And so they won't send some of their guys to events like this. And we don't need that in Pennsylvania. As you said, we're the best wrestling state. We and that's in part because we've been so well organized, and everybody kind of pulls together, whether you're District 7 or District 11 or District 3 or whatever it is. We pull together to do what's best for the sport, and I hope we continue to do that at the youth level, that this doesn't splinter us to where we really weaken the product for both of them.
Well, I mean, like you said, that's the direction we're heading, is it not? I mean, that's like you said. I don't know if it's egos. I don't know if it's pride. I don't know what it is that's keeping the two sides to come to a reconciliation, if you will. But whatever it is, again, we're heading that way, right? And maybe it's a race to get your information out and the qualifiers out. Something's going to happen. Something's got to come to head. Either the PJW is going to come out on top with the Keystone State Championships, or they're just going to be both mediocre tournaments that continue going on.
That's my fear.
I don't know though. I'm not sure how it's going to work. And again, the kids are the ones who suffer. So we can get off our soapbox since we're almost 5 minutes past the power hour. I wanted to end it with Jeff Havelka. Shout out Jeff Havelka, same first name. He's a great guy. He is stepping down from the head coaching position at Canon-McMillan after 4 years. And, I got to talk to Jeff quite a bit this season, and got to talk to him at the Classic as well, because Tyler Rahaley was a very, very last-second replacement for the Team Whippeal. And, he just had another young kid. He's got a couple of young kids, and I was like, hey, I can relate, and he said it was just, he just wanted to spend more time with his kids, and that's a tough job. Being the head coach at Canon-McMillan is, not to kind of hype them up, but it's almost like being the head coach of Easton, right? This is a big job. You're expected a lot out of you, especially when you have your Section 2 neighbor down the street, Waynesburg, doing what Waynesburg's doing. So like they're just winning. Canon-McMillan's got such a huge tradition of wrestling, not only the Whippeal but the state of Pennsylvania. So that's a daunting job and task. So it's interesting to see who's going to fill that void there for the Big Macs.
Are you hearing any rumblings yet? Any names tossed out there? Or?
No, I mean, you look at who's on staff. Zach Bowman's on staff. He's been around for a very long time. I think he's. I don't know if he's interested in it or not, but I'm sure if he is, that's a possibility. I know. Canon-McMillan tends to look within. Chris Mary was there for a number of years. Jason Cardillo was an assistant under him before Jeff Havelka took over. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really hearing a whole lot at this point, but I'm sure we won't. I'm sure we don't have to wait too long to figure out who it is, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest there.
Absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want that job? Like you said, you've got a challenge with Waynesburg there, but Canon-McMillan just has such history and such a tradition that that there's a great feeder program there in place, and it's a job that I think a lot of guys will be interested in.
Well, I can tell you one guy who's not interested in it, and that's Jeff Upson. Definitely not. I'm interested in jumping off the podcast, Eric, checking on my baby, and getting ready for the Cadet World Team Trials, because Dyson, I don't know if you heard, but Dyson said they start tomorrow.
Do they?
Yeah.
He should have mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got to take it easier on Dyson. I don't want him to up and quit on us. We need him. He's pretty valuable.
He is very valuable. We love Dyson, and he's honestly a great sport about it, because as much as we pick on him on here, it's nothing compared to what he gets in the group chat. Ooh. I mean, it's just brutal in there with Dyson getting on him about his Iowa love.
What about me? I mean, I get crapped on the regular by the group chat. I mean, Rob Watko is we need to bring Rob back on, because the things that he says to me on that group text.
Let's think about it, Jeff. You're the boss figure for PA Power Wrestling. So what does everybody do behind the boss's back? Is they complain about him, like, I can't believe he did this. And you're only looking at like 1 out of every 6 messages that goes through there. So we know we can slip some past you and just rip on you, and you're not even going to know it.
Well, I mean, I just love the fact that at the Redemption Duel, I'm sitting talking to Scott Green. Scott Green is a great guy. I wanted to talk to Scott Green, so I'm sitting there. Well, Tristan Warner is going to the bathroom, snaps a picture of me, texts the group, and is like, "What's the boss doing out here? Chumming with the with Scott Green out here. You can't be in here with the rest of the troops here. Get out of here."
Come on. You didn't get slammed nearly as hard as Tristan did in that, because Walt Call was all over him about the size of his T-shirt on that.
True. No, you're right. He was. You're right.
But it was quite funny because Tristan's like, "Oh man, this T-shir's way too big," and Walt goes like, "Hey, can you get a T-shirt that fits?" He's like, "Yeah, it's too big." He's like, "No, it's too tight."
Well, you shouldn't have done arms the day before you came up, Tristan. Yeah, it's keep it on PA Power Wrestling, because we've got a lot coming up here. Of course, we got Wranglemania coming up on May 8th, which Team Pennsylvania is going to take on All-Stars from Team New York and Team Minnesota. It's basically an all-pinnacle team from Minnesota. We're going to talk more about that, have a show dedicated for that. But that's in the hopper here. We got a lot coming up this weekend with National High School Coaches Association tournament going down in Virginia Beach. The Virginia Beach Duels are always one that a lot of Pennsylvania wrestlers go to. And, of course, out in Wisconsin, the Cadet World Team Trials. So keep it here, PA Power Wrestling on Rockfin, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, everywhere, Eric. We are. Wherever wrestling is, we are. And start booking your flight to Budapest, all right?
I'm looking on it, man. I just got to click on it.
Okay, well, like I said, 3 or more. We get 3 guys from PA on the team or more, you're going.
You heard it. Everybody out there. Jeff is he's in.
I'm in. So
I'm going.
You're going, because I sure as hell can't go.
As long as we can get a credential. You didn't tick off anybody at USA Wrestling, did you?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty close with Taylor. Gary Abbott's my boy.
All right. Okay.
No, we're good.
Let's not have a show where we tell them all the things they're doing wrong.
It is what it is, Eric. Hey, great talking to you. Thank you to Dyson Gold for jumping on. For Eric Knopsnyder, I'm Jeff Upson. Keep it classy, wrestling fans. We'll talk to you real soon.